Well, actually, I just didn't go anywhere where there was like paparazzi or anybody, cared or really recognized me. I went everywhere else.
The rise of a troubled star. Picture this. It's 1991, and Axl Rose just dove into a crowd to attack a fan, sparking a riot that injured many and caused massive damage. This wasn't just a bad day. It was a glimpse into the troubled mind of a rock legend. From his abusive childhood to his dramatic fall from grace, Axl's story is one of talent twisted by trauma. Are you brave enough to face the ugly truth about one of rock's most controversial figures? Axl's troubles started long before he became famous. Born William Bruce Rose Jr. in 1962, his childhood was a nightmare of abuse and instability. This dark beginning shaped the angry, unpredictable man he would become. In 1982, Axl escaped to Los Angeles, hoping for a fresh start, but his demons followed him. Life in LA wasn't easy for Axl. He got arrested multiple times and struggled to find his place in the music scene. Failed band after failed band left him feeling hopeless. But in 1985, everything changed when Guns N' Roses formed. Little did anyone know, this was the beginning of a wild ride that would change rock history forever. 2 years later, Guns N' Roses released Appetite for Destruction. The album exploded, becoming the best-selling debut ever in the US. Axl had finally made it big. But as we'll see, fame would bring a whole new set of problems for the troubled star. Fame's poisonous touch. Axl Rose had finally achieved his dreams, but fame quickly turned into a nightmare. How did the pressure of stardom push one of rock's biggest stars to the brink of ruin? As Guns N' Roses exploded onto the music scene, Axl found himself thrust into a world he wasn't prepared for. The band's meteoric rise brought adoration from millions of fans, but it also exposed Axl's deep-seated issues. His childhood trauma and unstable personality couldn't handle the intense spotlight. At first, Axl's unpredictable behavior was seen as rock star antics. But as time went on, it became clear that something darker was at play. His substance abuse spiraled out of control, fueling his already volatile temper. Concerts became a gamble for fans. Would they see a legendary performance or witness a meltdown? Axl's personal life was just as chaotic as his public persona. His relationships with women, especially Erin Everly and Stephanie Seymour, were stormy and filled with conflict. Everly later claimed that Axl was violent during their time together, painting a picture of a man struggling to control his demons. Even Axl's friendships within the music world suffered. A nasty feud erupted between him and Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain in the early 90s. What started as a misunderstanding quickly turned into a war of words and personal attacks. It seemed like Axl couldn't help but create chaos wherever he went. Despite all the drama, Guns N' Roses was still making incredible music. In 1991, they released Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. These albums debuted at number 1 and number 2 on the Billboard 200, a feat that showed just how popular the band still was. Songs like November Rain and Sweet Child O' Mine became instant classics, proving that Axl's vocal talents were still unmatched. But even as the band reached new heights, cracks were forming. Axl's behavior was pushing his bandmates to their limits. His perfectionism and need for control clashed with the other members' desires. The seeds of the band's eventual breakup were already being planted. As the 90s wore on, Axl's reputation overshadowed his musical genius. His tardiness at concerts, on-stage outbursts, and off-stage antics became legendary for all the wrong reasons. Fans never knew if they'd get the brilliant performer or the unstable loose cannon. The pressure to live up to the band's early success weighed heavily on Axl, further fueling his inner turmoil. The unraveling of a rock icon. As Guns N' Roses reached new heights, Axl Rose's inner demons threatened to tear everything apart. The band's success couldn't mask the growing tensions within, and Axl's behavior became increasingly unpredictable. How did the voice of a generation go from selling out stadiums to becoming rock's most infamous recluse? The story behind Guns N' Roses' implosion is more heartbreaking than you might think. The Use Your Illusion tour, which kicked off in 1991, should have been a triumph for the band. Instead, it became a showcase for Axl's spiraling behavior. Concerts often started hours late, if they happened at all. In July 1991, during a show in St. Louis, Axl's temper reached a boiling point. He spotted someone in the crowd taking pictures and lost control. Diving into the audience, he attacked the fan, sparking a riot that caused $200,000 in damages. The incident led to Axl being charged with inciting a riot. He was found guilty of property damage and assault, resulting in a $50,000 fine and 2 years of probation. But the troubles didn't stop there. In 1992, during a co-headlining show with Metallica in Montreal, Axl pushed things even further. He delayed the performance for over 2 hours, then left the stage early due to voice issues. Angry fans erupted into another riot, causing extensive property damage and cementing Axl's reputation as a liability. As the tour dragged on, the other members of Guns N' Roses found it harder and harder to work with their volatile frontman. Axl's perfectionism and need for control clashed with their desire for creative freedom. The cracks in the band's foundation were starting to show. By 1996, the tension had reached a breaking point. Slash, the band's iconic guitarist and Axl's longtime collaborator, had enough. He quit the band, citing creative differences and Axl's difficult behavior. Bassist Duff McKagan followed suit shortly after. The departure of these key members was a huge blow to Guns N' Roses and marked the end of an era. With his bandmates gone and his reputation in tatters, Axl retreated from the public eye. He became known as rock's greatest recluse, rarely leaving his Malibu mansion. Fans and the media speculated wildly about what had happened to the once unstoppable rock god. Had the pressure of fame finally broken him, or was he plotting his comeback? In the late 1990s, Axl made a surprising announcement. He was working on a new Guns N' Roses album called Chinese Democracy. Fans were excited at the prospect of new music, but little did they know that this album would become one of the most infamous projects in rock history. As Axl disappeared into his creative cave, the music world moved on. The grunge movement had taken over, and Guns N' Roses' brand of hard rock was no longer at the forefront of popular music. But Axl seemed determined to prove that he was still relevant, pouring all his energy into Chinese Democracy. Years passed, and still, there was no sign of the album. Axl's perfectionism had taken over, leading to endless rewrites and re-recordings. The project became a running joke in the music industry, with many doubting it would ever see the light of day. Meanwhile, Axl's absence from the public eye only fueled more rumors and speculation about his mental state. The long wait for Chinese Democracy. For over a decade, Chinese Democracy became the most expensive running joke in rock history. But as millions were spent and careers were ruined, a tragic story was unfolding behind the scenes. What really drove Axl Rose to sacrifice everything for an album that might never see the light of day? As the new millennium dawned, Rose had become a ghost in the music world. The once vibrant frontman of Guns N' Roses had retreated into seclusion, leaving fans and critics alike wondering what had become of the controversial rock star. But behind closed doors, Axl was obsessively working on what he believed would be his masterpiece. The anticipation for this album was unlike anything the music industry had seen before. Guns N' Roses' last original studio album had been released in 1991, and fans were hungry for new material. The production process for Chinese Democracy was a nightmare of delays and setbacks. Axl's perfectionism reached new heights, with entire recordings scrapped and redone multiple times. The revolving door of musicians and producers working on the album added to the chaos. As one former band member put it, it was like being on a never-ending roller coaster with no exit in sight. During this time, rumors about his mental state and lifestyle ran wild. Some called him the Howard Hughes of rock and roll, painting a picture of a man trapped in his own mind. Axl rarely made public appearances, and when he did, it only fueled more speculation about his well-being. The music industry watched in disbelief as the budget for Chinese Democracy ballooned to an estimated $13 million, making it one of the most expensive rock albums ever produced. Axl's record label Geffen grew increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress. In a rare interview, Axl expressed his disappointment with the industry, saying, "We've never been really anything all that much more other than a throw it at the wall, see if it sticks, hoping to get lucky scam." As the years dragged on, Axl faced personal tragedies that further complicated the album's production. The deaths of close friends and family members took their toll, adding to his already fragile state of mind. The pressure to deliver a masterpiece worthy of the Guns N' Roses name seemed to be crushing the very creativity it was meant to inspire. By the mid-2000s, Chinese Democracy had become more than just an album. It was a symbol of unfulfilled potential and the dark side of perfectionism. Fans began to lose hope that they would ever hear new music from their once-beloved band. The idea that Axl Rose, the voice behind some of rock's greatest anthems, might never release another song was a bitter pill to swallow. Finally, in 2008, after 15 years of production hell, Chinese Democracy was released. The album hit stores as an exclusive at Best Buy, a decision that limited its reach and added to the controversy surrounding its release. The reception was mixed, to say the least. Some critics praised Axl's ambition, while others saw it as a bloated, overproduced mess. Sales figures told a sobering story. In its first week, Chinese Democracy sold only 261,000 copies, a far cry from the millions Guns N' Roses used to move in their heyday. The album that was supposed to be Axl's triumphant return to the spotlight instead became a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked perfectionism and the toll of living in the shadow of past glories. The unexpected comeback. Just when the world thought Axl Rose's career was beyond saving, a surprising twist emerged. After years of disappointment, could one decision rewrite the ending of rock's most tumultuous tale? In 2016, Guns N' Roses fans were blindsided by an announcement that seemed impossible. Axl Rose, Slash and Duff McKagan were reuniting for a tour. The news spread like wildfire, igniting a mix of excitement and skepticism. Could the band that had imploded so spectacularly really come back together? The aptly named Not in This Lifetime tour was met with overwhelming enthusiasm. Fans who had given up hope of ever seeing the classic lineup perform again rushed to buy tickets. The tour quickly became a massive success, selling 4.3 million tickets in 2017 alone. It wasn't just a nostalgia act, it was one of the highest-grossing tours of all time. But the real surprise wasn't just the reunion itself. It was Axl Rose's transformation. Gone was the volatile, unpredictable frontman of the past. In his place was a more mature, professional performer. Slash, who had left the band due to conflicts with Axl, now spoke positively about his former nemesis. "He's become super professional," Slash said, "and he's never missed a beat during this whole time." The change in Axl's behavior didn't go unnoticed by fans and critics alike. Shows started on time, a stark contrast to the hours-long delays that had plagued Guns N' Roses concerts in the past. Axl seemed focused, present, and genuinely happy to be on stage again. However, the comeback wasn't without its challenges. Axl's health issues, particularly problems with his voice, led to some concert cancellations. Yet even in these setbacks, Axl showed a new side of himself. He assured fans he would return, demonstrating a level of accountability that had often been missing in his earlier career. As the tour continued, fans got to witness something they never thought they'd see again. Axl Rose, Slash, and Duff McKagan sharing a stage, creating the magic that had made Guns N' Roses one of the biggest bands in the world. The performances were a mix of nostalgia and renewed energy, with Axl's evolved vocal style adding a new dimension to classic songs. Despite the changes in his appearance and voice, fans embraced this new version of Axl. For many, it was enough to see the man who had soundtracked their youth performing again, regardless of the differences. The connection between Axl and his audience seemed stronger than ever, built on a shared history and a newfound appreciation for second chances. In a rare interview, Axl reflected on his current status and the public's perception of his career. "You know what? He's doing just fine," he remarked, showing a level of self-awareness and acceptance that had often seemed out of reach in his tumultuous past. The legacy of a complicated icon. Despite his comeback, Axl Rose's legacy remains a complicated tapestry of triumph and tragedy. What lasting impact did his personal demons have on his music and the rock world? The answer might surprise even his most dedicated fans. Axl Rose's journey through fame has been a rollercoaster of highs and lows, leaving an indelible mark on rock music history. His story is one of incredible talent, mixed with self-destructive tendencies, a cautionary tale about the darker side of stardom. From the early days of Guns N' Roses, Axl's powerful vocals and magnetic stage presence set him apart. Songs like Sweet Child O' Mine and November Rain became anthems for a generation, showcasing his unique ability to convey raw emotion through music. But behind the scenes, Axl was fighting battles that would shape his career and personal life for years to come. Axl's childhood trauma played a significant role in his adult struggles. Growing up in a strict religious household, he faced abuse and isolation that left deep scars. "The Bible was shoved down my throat, and it really distorted my point of view," Axl once said. These early experiences contributed to his complex relationships with others, especially women. He admitted, "I've been hell on the women in my life, and the women in my life have been hell on me." The pressures of sudden fame only amplified Axl's inner turmoil. His behavior became increasingly erratic, leading to infamous incidents like the riot in St. Louis. Axl's volatility wasn't just rockstar antics, it was a cry for help from a troubled soul. He once expressed, "When they talk about Axl Rose being a screaming 2-year-old, they're right. There's a screaming 2-year-old who's real pissed off." Axl's struggles with mental health, including a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, further complicated his life and career. His former manager, Doug Goldstein, noted, "Axl was a man struggling with demons and taking radical measures to overcome them. This internal battle often overshadowed his musical genius, leading to a legacy as controversial as it is impactful. The long wait for Chinese democracy became a symbol of Axl's perfectionism and inner turmoil. What was meant to be a triumphant return became a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition. The album's troubled production and mixed reception highlighted the toll that years of isolation and pressure had taken on Axl's creativity. Despite the controversies, Axl Rose's influence on rock music remains undeniable. His vocal range and songwriting ability have earned him a place among the greatest rock singers of all time. Songs like Coma provide a raw glimpse into his experiences with stress and mental health, showcasing his ability to channel personal struggles into powerful music. Axl's recent comeback with the partially reunited Guns N' Roses has offered a glimmer of redemption. His more professional demeanor and improved relationships with former bandmates suggest a man who has done significant work on himself. As Axl stated, "I'm trying to fix myself and turn around and help others." However, the scars of the past remain. Axl's story serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of fame and the music industry's often destructive impact on artists. It raises questions about how we treat troubled public figures and the fine line between artistic genius and personal demons. A bittersweet symphony. Axl Rose's journey from a troubled child to a rock icon, then a recluse, and finally back to the stage is a bittersweet tale. His incredible talent and self-destructive tendencies created a legacy as complicated as the man himself. From the heights of appetite for destruction to the lows of concert riots and years of isolation, Axl's story is a stark reminder of fame's dark side. Despite his comeback, the scars of his past remain. Axl once said, "When you're a popular figure, you owe a certain responsibility to your fans." This statement highlights the heavy burden he carried. His struggles with mental health and substance abuse overshadowed his musical genius for years. Now, as he performs again, fans see a changed man, more mature, but still carrying the weight of his tumultuous past. Axl Rose's story shows us the true cost of fame and the long, difficult road to redemption.